Continuing from the previous story, Xiaoyan had just arrived at the conflict between the Cao Clan and the Yi Clan. Cao Dan, upon seeing Xiaoyan and Xiao Yixian arriving, immediately said that if he remembered correctly, they should be Xiaoyan and Xiao Yixian, who had caused a significant commotion in the Pill region. On the other hand, Yi Zhong quickly explained that this person was Cao Dan, known as a genius pill refiner who appears once in 100 years within the Cao Clan. Despite his young age, he had already reached the level of a 7th-tier alchemist. Moreover, he was currently quite famous in the Pill region. Xiaoyan smiled and nodded before finally saying to Cao Dan that the issue between the Cao Clan and the Yi Clan was merely a small grudge, and why not take a step back. A cold glint passed through Cao Dan's eyes as he saw Xiaoyan's smiling face. He said, "What about the Cao Clan's reputation out there? If they take a step back now, after the Cao Clan had made a public announcement following the Yi Clan's approach to discussing this issue, would the Cao Clan lose a lot of faces if they failed to marry now? Does Xiaoyan consider this a small grudge?" In response, Xiaoyan stepped forward and laughed, saying, "If that's the case, does young master Cao Dan insist on taking Sinland with him?" Cao Dan's expression changed instantly, but he did not back down and instead stepped forward. He immediately said that he had heard about Xiaoyan's strength and knew that Xiaoyan was capable of fighting. But at this moment, the Cao Clan was not a place like the Ice River Valley that could be treated like that by Xiaoyan. Xiaoyan immediately smiled and said that he even dared to kill members of the Hall of Soul. Did Cao Dan think that the Cao Clan was even harder to deal with compared to the Hall of Soul? Cao Dan's expression finally turned ugly after hearing this. With the Cao Clan's ability to call for assistance, they could indeed be compared to the Ice River Valley. But when compared to the Hall of Soul, the Cao Clan would lose that qualification. After all, the Hall of Soul stood shoulder to shoulder with the Pill Tower, while the Cao Clan only relied on the Pill Tower. How could they be compared to the Hall of Soul? After that, Cao Dan said he knew that Xiaoyan was indeed brave, but sometimes Xiaoyan needed to be a bit more rational. The people he brought now might not be able to take Sin Lan away, but if they came again next time, he believed that just 2 elite Dao Zun behind Xiaoyan wouldn't be of much use. Offending the Cao Clan for the Yi Clan was truly useless. If Xiaoyan was willing, the Cao Clan would welcome him as a friend. Xiaoyan smiled, shook his head, and said to forget all of this. What Cao Dan said did not catch Xiaoyan's attention at all. Therefore, it would be better for them to leave now, as he would not hand Sinlan over to him. Cao Dan's expression darkened even further after hearing Xiaoyan's words. A man in a gray robe stepped forward, but before he could proceed, a figure in white appeared in front of Xiaoyan. Xiao Yixian immediately told the man in the gray robe to stay put, warning him that he would die if he took another step. She declared that his 1-star Du Zum strength did not qualify him to act recklessly here. The expression of the man in the gray robe turned grim as he realized that Xiao Yixian was also an elite Dao Zun. Moreover, he sensed that her level was likely even higher than his own. Not long after, 2 old men in red robes suddenly stepped forward. Their majestic auras surged like waves, creating immense pressure. Tian Hao Zunji felt this and also stepped forward, appearing to Xiaoyan's left with his powerful aura surging out, suppressing the almost 100-strong force on the other side. Meanwhile, Xiaoyan gave a faint smile and asked if young master Cao Dan planned to use force. However, with only 1-star Du Zun's strength, it seemed insufficient to face Xiaoyan. A cold glint flashed in Cao Dan's eyes as he glanced at Yi Zhong. He stated that if Xiaoyan's group left, the Yi Clan would likely become the target of the Cao Clan's wrath, potentially being erased from the Pill region in the future. The expressions of Yi Zhong's group unconsciously changed after hearing this. Yet, what other options did the Yi Clan have at that moment? If they lost Xiaoyan's support, the Yi Clan would indeed suffer greatly. Moreover, if they abandoned Xiaoyan and fulfilled the marriage between the Cao Clan and the Yi Clan would likely soon be eliminated as well. After contemplating and making a decision, Yi Zhong declared that the Yi Clan would act according to Master Xiaoyan's orders. Upon hearing this, Xiaoyan immediately glanced at Cao Dan and asked him to leave at once. Cao Dan's expression became extremely chaotic as he was dismissed empty-handed. He wanted to use force, but with the other side having 2 elite Dao Zun, he knew it would be futile and the Cao Clan would suffer losses if they fought. After pondering for a while, Cao Dan suddenly swept his gaze over Xiaoyan and said, "Isn't it rumored that Xiaoyan is also an alchemist? If that's the case, does Xiaoyan dare to make a bet with me? If I lose, the Cao Clan will withdraw from this marriage. But if I win, Xiaoyan will not interfere in this matter. Since we are both alchemists, we won't fight like fools. We should follow the rules of alchemists and challenge each other in playing with fire. As he spoke, a group of dark black flames suddenly appeared in Cao Dan's hand. The flames danced in his palm and transformed into two small black snakes that continuously slithered around. Realizing this, Yi Zhong hurriedly said that Master Xiaoyan should not agree to Cao Dan's challenge. Cao Dan had an extraordinary talent for controlling fire, and even within the Cao Clan, there were only a few who could surpass him. A look of surprise crossed Xiaoyan's face upon hearing Yi Zhong's words. He hadn't expected Cao Dan to possess such a talent in fire control. Xiaoyan then turned to Cao Dan and said, "Since you like it, I'll accompany you. Although I have never competed with anyone in playing with fire, the one thing I am most confident about is my fire control skills." Yi Zhong quickly asked, "Are you really sure you want to accept his challenge, Master Xiaoyan? The dark black fire in Cao Dan's hand is a very powerful beast flame. It is said that the Cao Clan went to great lengths to obtain it from the body of an 8th ranked magical beast. Its power is incredible. Although it cannot be compared to heavenly flames, ordinary flames will have a hard time competing against it." Xiaoyan was not surprised to hear this, as he had already sensed the strength of the dark black flame when it appeared. Not long after, Cao Dan spoke up, "My flame is called the Dark Sky Demon Flame. It was obtained from the body of the Dark Sky Three-Headed Lion, an 8th ranked magical beast." As he spoke, the black flame danced above Cao Dan's head, emitting a sharp eagle's cry. Pride gleamed in Cao Dan's eyes. Meanwhile, Xiaoyan glanced at the large black eagle and nodded slightly, recognizing that there was indeed a reason for Cao Dan's arrogance. An ordinary alchemist would not be able to compare with Cao Dan, who could control flames with such familiarity. However, Cao Dan was unfortunate because manipulating fire was Xiaoyan's specialty. Xiaoyan's control over fire had reached its peak. If Yao Lao were to seek Xiaoyan's fire control now, he would surely praise him. Cao Dan believed this bet would be easy to win, not realizing that it was also Xiaoyan's specialty. Xiaoyan snapped his fingers and a jade-green flame slowly rose from his fingertip. He then formed the flame into a large fire wolf that howled at the sky. The wolf's howl echoed through the air, and the temperature in the entire city began to rise as the jade-green fire wolf appeared. Cao Dan's eyes suddenly narrowed as he glanced at the fire wolf. So, it is indeed a heavenly flame. The rumors were true that this boy possesses a heavenly flame. Cao Dan then pointed at the fire wolf above Xiaoyan's head, and the black fire eagle immediately screeched and charged toward the fire wolf. Meanwhile, the jade-green wolf only howled long and loud in the face of the black fire eagle's attack. Eventually, its back trembled, and a pair of fiery wings extended from it. The wings flapped instantly, and the wolf shot forward. Flames scattered in all directions as the two fiercely clashed. The spiritual battle between the two flames continued until Cao Dan furrowed his brow and muttered, "If this continues, the dark sky demon flame will not be able to withstand the heavenly flame." Not long after, Cao Dan quickly took out a jade bottle, and a flame, as bright as fresh blood, emerged immediately. As fresh blood dripped into it, Cao Dan smiled and said, "Can Xiaoyan withstand my two flames under my control?" The red flame morphed into a blood-red dog with eyes that gleamed coldly. It immediately set its forepaws on the ground and charged into the battle in the sky. But Cao Dan did not stop there. He took out two more jade bottles, and soon gray and purple flames surged forth. He dripped his blood into them, and the flames transformed into beastly figures that rushed into the arena. At this moment, Xiaoyan's firewolf was surrounded by 4 fire beasts. Cao Dan then said to Xiaoyan that playing with fire is not only about quality but also quantity, and Xiaoyan should remember this when competing with others in the future. Xiaoyan faintly glanced at Cao Dan, then laughed and thanked him for the reminder. Since this was the issue, he would win with quantity. After uttering such provocative words, Xiaoyan snapped his fingers and 10 jade bottles appeared before they exploded. 10 groups of flames of various hues slowly rose in front of many astonished eyes. They swayed before transforming into 10 fierce fire beasts. All these flames were beast fires, which Xiaoyan had obtained to feed the life-transforming flame. Xiaoyan then fixed his gaze on Cao Dan, whose face had turned pale. Mocking him, Xiaoyan said that Cao Dan could only control 4 types of flames, yet he dared to come out and compete with others in flame manipulation. On the other hand, Cao Dan was genuinely shocked and muttered, "How can this be?" His eyes were filled with disbelief, wondering how Xiaoyan could control 11 types of flames. This level was something even his sister, considered a prodigy in their clan, could not achieve. The match ended with all of Cao Dan's fire beasts completely defeated, while 9 of Xiaoyan's remained. Cao Dan's body trembled as the last of his fire beasts disappeared. He took 2 steps back in panic, and a groan escaped his throat. At the same time, the fire beast contained his remaining spiritual power. and thus their loss caused some damage to his spiritual strength. Cao Dan's face was filled with a pale white color and lingering shame. He had thought he would emerge victorious, but was instead defeated miserably by Xiaoyan. Meanwhile, Xiaoyan retracted the Green Lotus core flame, while the other 8 fire beasts gradually faded into nothingness. Unrefined flames could only be used once. After a single use, they would dissipate if their energy was not replenished. After retracting the flames into his body, Xiaoyan turned to Cao Dan and said, "Young Master Cao Dan may leave now." Cao Dan's expression worsened upon hearing Xiaoyan's words. He sighed and nodded, admitting that it was no wonder Yi Shang had placed his hopes on Xiaoyan. Xiaoyan indeed possessed some skills which he had underestimated. Hearing this, Xiaoyan faintly smiled. Cao Dan might claim to be a 7th level alchemist, but from Xiaoyan's perspective, Cao Dan was at best a low-level 7. He was not a formidable opponent for Xiaoyan and would not pose much trouble if they met at the Pill Gathering in the future. Cao Dan then continued, saying that since he had lost today, they could be assured that the Cao Clan would not cause any trouble for a while. After saying this, Cao Dan glared at Xiaoyan, waved his hand, and turned to leave the arena, followed by his entourage. On the other side, members of the Yi Clan breathed a sigh of relief, seeing that the Cao Clan had left in despair. Cheers of respect erupted as they looked at Xiaoyan. Xin Lan also breathed a sigh of relief and thanked Xiaoyan in her heart. In response to that, Xiaoyan waved his hand before finally saying that since he had promised Xin Lan, he would protect the Yi Clan at least until he fulfilled his promise. Meanwhile, Yi Chong beside him immediately clasped his hands and bowed towards Xiaoyan, then said that everyone from the Yi Clan would never forget the great help that Master Xiaoyan had done for the Yi Clan. He assured Xiaoyan that he should never hesitate to ask if there was anything the Yi Clan could do to help Master Xiaoyan in the future. Even though there might be some things they couldn't do, the Yi Clan would try their best. Xiaoyan smiled before Yi Zhong continued speaking. Referring to Cao Dan's previous words, it seemed that the sorcerer from the Cao Clan had likely returned. Xiaoyan was surprised and then asked what Yi Zhong meant. Yi Zhong smiled bitterly and then asked back what Master Xiaoyan thought of Cao Dan. In response, Xiaoyan immediately voiced his thoughts that Cao Dan's character wasn't great, but he did have some skills. Moreover, he had reached the 7th level alchemist at such a young age, which was truly considered a genius in the alchemist world. After that, Yi Zhong explained that Cao Dan couldn't show any arrogance in front of the Cao Clan sorcerer, who was named Cao Ying. Her entire life had been legendary. When she was born, she already showed surprising spiritual power that nearly killed her mother. At the age of 7, she officially became an alchemist, and at 15, she caught the attention of the Pill Tower, which made an exception to take her as a core disciple. She trained quietly at the Pill Tower for 5 years, and at the age of 20, she became the youngest 7th level alchemist in the Cao Clan. It seems she was now 22, reaching the 7th level at 20, and in these 2 years, she must have advanced. Yi Zhong believed that she was at least at the peak of the 7th level by now. Yi Zhong took a deep breath before continuing that Cao Ying would definitely participate in the Pill Gathering. According to tradition, if someone wanted to slowly advance to become one of the giants of the Pill Tower, they had become the champion of the Pill Gathering. Cao Ying was quite ambitious, so she certainly wouldn't give up on the Pill Gathering. After that, Yi Zhong glanced at Xiaoyan and said that this girl would be a formidable opponent for Xiaoyan in the Pill Gathering. Xiaoyan's expression became serious, and he nodded before Yi Zhong continued speaking. He said that Xiaoyan shouldn't be too afraid. Cao Ying might be strong, but if they competed, no one would know who would come out on top as long as neither had reached the 8th level. Xiaoyan nodded and said that Yi Zhong should remain calm. Xiaoyan would surely succeed in the Pill Gathering and do his best regardless of how strong his opponents were. Yi Zhong smiled and nodded before finally saying that the test of the 5 great clans would begin in less than a month. They had to go to the Holy Pill City first, so they had to leave in about 20 days. This urgent schedule made Xiaoyan frown, but helplessly, he could only nod. Xiaoyan sighed before finally saying that Yi Zhong just needed to inform him when the time came. Xiaoyan would rest for a day before continuing his intense training for a certain period. Yi Zhong nodded before Xiaoyan returned to his room to rest and resume his training. In short, Xiaoyan had reached the last day before they started their journey to the Holy Pill City. Xiaoyan didn't even take half a step out of the pill refinement room during these 20 days. Soon, Xiaoyan came out of his room where the Yi Zhong group was waiting for him. At this moment, Yi Zhong felt a strange sensation realizing the change within Xiaoyan. It seemed Xiaoyan was truly different and more charming than before he underwent the training process. Xiao, Yaxian, and Tian Hu Zunji were also a bit surprised by this change. Xiao Yixian might still be fine, but Tianhu Zunji seemed deep in thought. Not long after, Yizhong said to Xiaoyan that they would start their journey to Pill City tomorrow, and then asked if Master Xiaoyan was ready. Xiaoyan smiled and nodded before Yizhong continued to ask if there was anything wrong with Master Xiaoyan. Hearing this question, Xiaoyan was slightly surprised and then asked what could possibly be wrong with him. From the way Xiaoyan answered, it seemed he was not aware of any changes within himself. Yizhong immediately asked, could there be something wrong with Master Xiaoyan's body? In response to this, Tianhu Zunji immediately glanced at Xiaoyan and said that there was nothing wrong with him. However, at this moment, it seemed that Xiaoyan's spiritual power had increased during his training. Xiaoyan was slightly astonished upon hearing Tianhu Zunji's words. Xiaoyan immediately stroked his chin and pondered, then said, now that you mention it, I do feel it's become easier to refine piddles compared to before. Moreover, my control over the flame has also improved. But isn't it true that one's total spiritual power only grows when their level increases? My current power is still at the 4-star Duzong level and only slightly more stable compared to when I first broke through to this level. Tianhu Zumji promptly said, it seems your teacher did not inform you about matters related to spiritual power. However, this is normal. People usually bend according to something very mysterious known as the soul. They cannot control it. Even Xiaoyan only knows how to control his spiritual power, but does not have a deep understanding of it. Hearing this, Xiaoyan and Yizhong both fell into deep thought before Tianhu Zunji continued to explain spiritual power does not have differences in level, but in state. Of course, very few people have heard of this statement because such a state of spirituality is something most experts cannot touch in their entire lives. After that, Tianhu Zunji immediately asked, do you know why so many alchemists remain at the 7th level throughout their lives? It is because of this state of spirituality. What Tianhu Zunji says likely something only known to ancestors of alchemists who have reached the 8th level. Otherwise, one can only find information in some ancient books. The state of spirituality is divided into 4 levels: mortal state, soul state, heavenly state, and D or God state. Most people, even alchemists below the 8th level, remain in the mortal state. There is only a slight variation in spiritual power. Most people in the past, like Xiaoyan, were at level 7, but much stronger than ordinary people. With luck, some alchemists at the 7th level might vaguely touch the soul state. If someone's spiritual power has reached this level, it will have certain effects. The effect is the ability to imbue pills with spirituality. Xiaoyan certainly realizes that most 8th level pills have spirituality. Because of this spirituality, they likely reach the 8th level. Regardless of how extraordinary an alchemist's pill refining techniques are, the pills they make will never reach the 8th level if they cannot imbue them with spirituality. Regarding a heavenly state, Xiaoyan certainly realizes that when talking about 9th level pills, their intelligence will not differ from ordinary people. This is equivalent to a kind of creation or life. To achieve this, one's spiritual level needs to reach the heavenly state. Very few people on this continent can reach this level. As for the D or God state, it only exists in legends. Even Tianhu Zunji has only heard of it. However, Xiaoyan should realize that the top level of the spiritual state, or the God level that Tianhu Zunji can tell Xiaoyan, is that this state is related to God level pills. In short, God level pills or Dai level pills are related to the legendary Dao Da. After hearing Tianhu Zunji's words, Yizhong immediately said that he had also read about this theory in some ancient books, but they did not describe it in as much detail as Mr. Tianhu Zunji explained. When Yizhong saw them at that time, he thought it was just a mistake and did not pay much attention to them. The ancestors of the Yi clan were also 8th level alchemists at that time, but they did not leave any information regarding the spiritual state. After that, Tianhu Zunji continued to explain that the soul is a very mysterious existence. Previously, Xiaoyan was not qualified to deal with this information, but judging by Xiaoyan's demeanor, it seems this has never happened. Xiaoyan smiled slightly before finally explaining that he was only a 5th level alchemist when his teacher fell into the hands of the Hall of Souls. How could Xiaoyan be related to such information? Tianhu Zunji laughed and then said that Xiaoyan's current spiritual condition seems to have touched the state of the soul. When Xiaoyan can enter the state of the soul depends on how blessed Xiaoyan is. It is said that there was a special training method to cultivate a person's soul in ancient times. The training referred to is called the soul technique, but it has clearly disappeared because Tianhu Zunji has never even seen anything about the so-called soul technique. Xiaoyan immediately shouted in surprise after hearing Tianhu Zunji's statement that the soul can be trained. In response to this, Tian Hu Zunji immediately glanced at Xiaoyan and then said that he had mentioned that this happened in ancient times. Xiaoyan smiled bitterly and shook his head when he saw Tian Hu Zunji looking at him. After that, Xiaoyan pondered for a moment and thought that it is no wonder there are so many level 7 alchemists, while level 8 alchemists are very rare. Some level 7 alchemists probably do not realize what is called the spiritual state. However, it seems it would be better if Xiaoyan could obtain some kind of soul technique that would allow him to train his soul. With that, Xiaoyan should be able to advance to the spiritual state much more smoothly. Xiaoyan sighed after realizing that it was very unfortunate that the technique had disappeared. Suddenly, a thought crossed his mind, and Xiaoyan wanted to know if the Pill Tower had a soul technique. Being a holy land in the hearts of countless alchemists, it seems that the Pill Tower is not an ordinary place. Hopefully, Xiaoyan can get some news about the soul technique on his journey to the Holy Pill City. In short, the day had changed with Xiaoyan, Xiao Yixian, Tian Hu Zunji, and Xinlan preparing for the journey. They immediately rushed to the wormhole located in Yi City. The wormhole was not very large and could not reach the Holy Pill City directly. Therefore, they needed to make several transits along the way to reach their final destination. After a 10-minute journey, they arrived at the wormhole, which was slowly emitting chaotic ripples. Yi Chong immediately said that when the Yi Clan was at its peak, there were 2 elite Daozuns willing to guard the wormhole. However, with the decline of the Yi Clan, they no longer had the capability to get help from experts at that level. This is truly a shame for the Yi Clan. Hearing this, Xiaoyan smiled and shook his head before finally saying that this was not a problem. When he returned from this journey, he would ask Xiao Yixian and Tian Hu Zunji to help take care of it. Hearing this, Yi Shang immediately nodded and thanked the 3 of them. After that, Yi Zhang took out a small black boat from his storage ring and invited everyone to board. Once inside, Yi Zhang explained that Yi City did not have a wormhole that led directly to the Holy Pill City. Therefore, they would head to a city called Qingling City for transit. The wormhole from that city could reach the Holy Pill City. It would take 3 days to reach Qingling City from here, and about 4 days from Qingling City to the Holy Pill City. Therefore, they would reach the Holy Pill City in about 7 or 8 days. They all had to rest on the boat during this period, and there were individual rooms inside the boat. The control of this space boat was left to Xin Lan and Yi Zhang. They all nodded before finally entering their respective rooms. In short, after several days of travel, they arrived in Qingling City. After resting for a while, they immediately continued their journey non-stop to the wormhole in Qingling City and rushed to the Holy Pill City from there. In short, they finally arrived and emerged from the wormhole. Xiaoyan then wondered if this was what was called the Holy Pill City. Yi Chong immediately said that this was just one of the spatial points in the outer region of the Holy Pill City. In total, there were 8 such spatial exits outside the city. Additionally, the Holy Pill City was divided into an outer region and an inner region. Currently, they were in the outer region, and the Pill Tower was located in the inner region. Of course, regardless of whether it was the outer or inner region, they were all part of the Pill Tower's territory. This Holy Pill City may be called a city, but it is far from what can be compared to an ordinary city. Its size is such that even some Daozong experts would need almost half a day to fly from north to south. Currently, the traffic has not yet reached its peak. Traffic will be extremely terrifying 1 month before the start of the Pill Gathering. Xiaoyan smiled bitterly and shook his head when he now realized how rustic he was after reaching this Holy Pill City. After that, Xiaoyan composed himself and together with Xiao Yixian and the others suddenly looked at Yi Zhang. Xiaoyan immediately asked where they would go first.